Hey guys, bringing a video here just to talk about something that really just got swept under the rug since the release, and that's Effect Heal Triggers. After the release in Set 5 and Festival Collection, people didn't really play them. They kind of wrote them off immediately, and they didn't really see any merit to them. Well, that was then, and this is now, and there's been a lot of power creep, a lot of power level just raw increase, and decks are a lot different now, and I think because of that, I would say that they have even more of a place than ever to actually be in the meta. Which brings me to my hastily made diagram here. Ignore how shitty it is, but it is what it is, and it's just going to show off like what decks exactly hit by the crit effect triggers and the restand effect triggers. And if you don't know what they do, they're basically 25k shields if an effect gives them the crit, or if effect makes them restand. I think it technically says like second attack or something like that, but it's all in the same. But anyways, let's just get straight into it. Now I've included in this little bunch here, I've included basically every relevant deck. A lot of collab decks are missing. I think the most notable collab deck I'm missing would be Yo from Shaman King, which would technically be in the both category. But other than that, I'm pretty sure I have mostly everything. And to start off, this is actually a pretty big L for the heal triggers. It's actually going to be the menace of the format, Chronojet. Chronojet does actually not get hit by the effect triggers at all. Even with the Chronojet restand with the next stage, it's technically a different unit, so it doesn't get hit by the heal trigger, sadly. That said, it does get hit by the crit heal trigger because the Dark States effect, OT, has an effect to give the Vanguard an effect. So that technically does apply to it. It can technically, any Dark States deck can technically get hit by the crit effect heal triggers, but other than that, no, it's going to be right off the bat not that good. 40 is an interesting deck. Being a pretty aggro overlord, I think actually it's a good matchup against Chronojet sometimes. But besides that, it's a restanding deck. It's overlord. It restands the friend, the end. So we have Michu. Michu switches to Vanguard. She doesn't get hit by it, so we can just put it right there. Lorinald's actually one of the few that is both of them. So if you play either of them, now they don't have to do the crit all the time, but they will probably be restanding whenever they can. And just having more of those trigger values, because you can't use Sentinels against them, is going to be really good. Lutetia is an Overlord clone, so we'll put her over there. Dianos actually does, so he does the fourth attack by swapping columns, but Dianos actually gains a crit by himself. So this it's not super impactful, but it does actually come up. Kairi dodges all of it. She bounces everything for a multi-attacks. Lukier does a multi-attacking from Soul, so that misses it. Begin a Dark States deck, so the OT can actually come up. Greedon restands himself. That's the whole point of him. Minerva also be restanding. And Maelstrom, again, amazing. It would be amazing card against Maelstrom, and then Flagberg when we get to it here. Just being able to one card guard some attacks that would require two card guards, insane. And another good one, this one gets hit by both. Rockagors are restanding. The new promo that's coming out, that's going to be restanding. And then Jujul himself, just at some point, he will be throwing a crit at you. Just really good free shield value. Eugene technically restands. It's not super impactful, but it is what it is. Graham Grace, I believe, dodges it, even with the new support. I haven't read the new support, but I'm pretty sure it just completely dodges it. Arcite gets around it really nicely, so we'll just put her up here. Jiva, again, another restanding reguard. Shojodoji actually does get around it. He calls from the Vine Zone. Bastion, what needless to say, restand. Welstra, I believe, no, there was nothing Welstra that gets hit by it, and yeah, because the crit triggers actually say if they gain a crit by an effect, that's 2 or more crit. They not just for gaining like a base 0 crit to base 1, so it won't get hit. MLB, not super impactful since the deck's a little bit cope, but it is what it is. It does get hit. Youthberg, again, missing these Youthberg and Chronojet being in here is a pretty big L. These are probably two of the most popular decks, and the fact that the heal triggers don't actually get the effect heal triggers don't get hit either of these big decks is a little annoying, which is again I should say that you should not play any of these heal triggers at more than 2 copies at most. Probably a 1-1 split is going to be the best option for you most of the time, but we'll get into that when we get into that. Leonore now restands not only the back row but also the front row, so she gets hit. Thurgrove is restanding basically everything. Ava, being able to 1 card guard an Obscadade when they're really expecting 2 card guards you, there's no better feeling. It is really, really nice against Ava, just saving that 1 extra card. Tamayura, she dodges it pretty nicely. She calls some souls with 5 attacks. Aurora, again, dodges it really nicely for the multi-attacks. I believe Chaos does restand. Yeah, Chaos restands, but not super impactful, doesn't matter. Again, not super impactful for this one. It's Prison. Prison, at that point, with Prison will probably be, it could come up, but at that point, if Prison's at 10 Prison, then you got other problems to deal with. Then we got Mahara, of course, boom, another restander. Magnolia shockingly 6 attacks and does not get hit by any of this, at least most builds. Bruce restanding, yep. Bavsagra, she gets a crit. It's really annoying to hard guard Bavsagra, but sometimes you have to, and it can really actually help you. As in, speaking of hard guarding the Vanguard with the crit, and then also the rears, Gravidia, that really good, really good having the crit heal trigger against Gravidia. Flagbird, again, amazing, same thing as Maelstrom, would be very impactful. Being able to 1-card guard some early rear guard swings instead of 2-card guarding, really impactful. PVO actually does gain a crit, and then another menace of the format, Draconic Overlord, just another really popular deck that just gets hit by these restanding hits. I mean, look how many we have already, but we'll get to that at the end. Zorga, really good one. I mean, they only have 3 attacks, infamously, and just being able to drop 1 card, maybe even just like a little 5k shield to guard the Roaming Prison Dragons with 2 crit, just easy seal trigger, proc of a life. Orphis does not get hits. It's up there. Hexorb technically gets hit by the restanding one. Not super impactful, and she doesn't even need to have a good turn to do that. Baramagnus, this actually deceptively might be pretty good because Baramagnus gains a crit, and being able to save your PGs for the attacks after that are probably better than having to PG the Vanguard swing every time, so that's actually really nice. And now we're into the set 9 decks, and this is kind of why I made the video. Unica gains a crit by herself. Granfia, here we go, restanding deck, he restands a rear guard. Dragon Tree, I believe he restands, and then also the Dragon Empire build seems like the best build, so it'll be using Esperadia, so restanding again. And then Avangarda, restanding. I mean, just every new deck in set 9 is getting hit by the effect heal triggers. That's kind of why I want to bring this up, because I think there's a really good place for them right now with decks that you're just seeing at your locals. And the thing about this diagram is I want to make this because look at where all the decks are here. Now, up here, there's a really big variety of decks, really big variety of good decks, soon to be good decks, decks that just do a lot of things, and these all in interest. Yeah, okay, they don't get hit by the effect heal triggers, but I mean, look at some of the decks down here. Do you see yourself struggling against these decks like Dio, Minerva, Lutetia? I mean, just try the restanding triggers. I mean, 2/3 of the Vanguards in this game, they either get hit by some of these or even both of them sometimes. And just looking at, like, yeah, there's a small pool up here, and these are a lot of popular decks that just don't get hit by them, but just look at all the decks that do actually get hit by them, and it is a really impactful thing at the end of the day, because it's just saving you a card at the end of the day. It's a free card at the end of the day. I mean, you're just trying to squeeze out as much card advantage as you possibly can to actually survive an opponent's turn and just make sure you can get to your turn, because that's how D-Format is. D-Format has a much lower shield value than you can guarantee on your turn. So just being able to see like a crit heal trigger early, and you're playing against Ava, and you just hold that until Obfuscate's like actually trying to force 2 cards out of your hand. It's just like, damn, I just got a free card in my hand. And like, even if you're playing a deck that like doesn't get hit by the effect heal triggers, is that if you're smart about it, or sometimes you can't be smart about, but if you're smart about it, you don't mulligan away that effect heal trigger and just go like, okay, you know what, when there's a 10k guard coming up later, I'll just make sure that I just throw the 10k guard over there. Like, you can use the effect heal triggers just like, oh, okay, it didn't matter if this was 10k or 15k heal trigger. At the end of the day, it didn't really matter that this was a vanilla heal trigger or the effect heal trigger. Like, sometimes you can just like see just like, oh, okay, this heal trigger could go back to the deck and be another heal trigger, but just like, you know what, it could just be 10k shield in my hand, a decent 10k shield early that I'm okay with getting rid of. And then when it does pop off, I mean, when you're playing a restanding heal trigger against any of these decks, you're just like, damn, that was only a 2-card guard when it was like a 50k swing or something like that. It's just, it pays dividends when it actually pays off. It's just such a nice feeling when you like one of your tech choices like actually gets hit. And I just want to make this video because I think heal triggers do have a place now. I mean, every single deck in set 9 is getting hit by it, and just look at any of these decks. Like, look at what your deck like actually might be like really annoying against. Like, are you a deck that goes wide and you can't make your board real quickly? Like, Gravidia is a really annoying matchup, Ava is a really annoying matchup. Then maybe try the crit heals, because you want to retain as much card advantage as possible, and it's one of your bad matchups, so use one of the effect heals that helps you with your bad matchups. It really is that simple. But that's all I really want to talk about. A kind of short video. I'm going to be trying like probably a 1-1 split. Again, I don't think you should go. I definitely don't think you should be maxing out, like doing a 2-2 split with effect heal triggers. I think 2 vanilla heals and then 1-1, or just 3 vanilla heals and then 1 of the effect heals can really just it can go a long way in the end, especially when you're getting a bigger hand and you're seeing your deck throughout the end of the game, and just like being able to, again, at the end of the day, the effect heal triggers are just making sure you save a card in hand. They're just making a 2-card guard into a 1-card guard, or a 3-card guard into a 2-card guard. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I just wanted to real quickly talk about this because I think people are sleeping on heal triggers right now. Anyways, peace.